Record.
All right, good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, May 28th, 10 a.m. We're here for our regular Tuesday open business meeting. Myself and Commissioner Daly are present, and let's go around the room and everybody can announce their name for the record.
Bob Batista, Expo, Idaho.
Bob Carney, Operations.
Deborah Phillips, Operations.
Don Carlisle, Forlow, Idaho Off-Road. Casey Smile.
John Blake, paramedic.
Good morning, Herb Cantu, landfill.
Jessica Dow, Human Resources.
Tim Lamb, Clerk's Office.
Josh Brown, Operations.
Richard Beck, Development Services.
Saul Seiler, Elections.
Cameron Taylor, Prosecutor's Office.
Heather McCarthy, Prosecutor's Office.
Robert Berry, Prosecutor's Office.
Elizabeth Duncan, Communications.
IT guy.
Trent Triple, County Clerk.
Beth Mon, Treasurer.
All right, well, we will move right along here. Are there any changes to the agenda?
No, they're not.
All right, we'll move on now to new business, and we have some public hearings. So I will open the public hearing on resolution number 2982 regarding the sheriff's budget. Is there any testimony on that? If not, we would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve Resolution 2982 as listed on the agenda.
All right, I'll second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Now have resolution number 2983, resolution for procurement of contractor services on the open market for Ada County fire alarm testing, inspection, and maintenance. So I'll open the public hearing on that one. Does anyone have any comment on that item? All right, if there's none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve Resolution 2983 as listed on the agenda.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Now resolution number 2984, resolution for procurement of contractor services on the open market for Ada County's fire suppression, testing, inspection, and maintenance, which I'm guessing is different than the first one.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we'll open the hearing on that one. And if there's no comment, we'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
I move to approve Resolution 2984 as listed on the agenda.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Then our last resolution is 2985, resolution establishing a process for the waiver of Ada County landfill disposal fees. I'll open the hearing on that one. And maybe we could hear from Herb.
Useful in this one.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner.
Morning.
Resolution number 2985 establishes a process for waiving landfill disposal fees. This resolution helps create boundaries or guidelines to control that process. This resolution will allow us to authorize, or the commissioners to authorize events, whether it's a community event of some sort, what have you, for disposal of up to 4 tons per event. The landfill will have a cap of approximately 100 tons per year for allowing free disposal. Essentially, this resolution will, I think, create a transparent process to enable the commissioners to consider applications as they are brought forth for consideration. And I'm open to answer any questions that you may have.
Can you talk about the process, how you got to the policy you're presenting today?
We had an initial request a few months ago regarding a disposal waiver fee. There was an old application that had been outdated and had not been brought to the existing commissioners for consideration in the past, or of recent time, I should say. So it was determined that we should create a process that was transparent to enable us to review applications and allow for a process to consider them, to avoid them being maybe abused or what have you. So we feel this resolution helps encompass that solution.
And does the SWAC committee, do they weigh in on these applications, or does that come right to the board?
This comes straight to the board.
Okay. Do they have some, they contributed to the policy?
They did not, no.
Okay. So for the public, this is, we do get requests every now and then, usually from members of the public or charitable groups who want to do cleanups, you know, and certain public lands or sometimes even private property that are, I guess, cluttered with litter that, so a lot of groups want to just be able to help clean up the community and are usually looking for, some consideration to get the landfill fees waived. So that's how this came about. Do you have any comment, Commissioner Daly?
Just to thank her as well as the applicant for bringing this to our attention and giving us a process for dealing with this.
My pleasure.
I think that the public needs to be congratulated for being willing and able to do this sort of thing for the community. This establishes a process for them to do that, so.
Agree, thank you.
I agree. So, is there any other comment on this item? If not, I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
I move to approve resolution 2985 as listed on the agenda.
All
Thank you.
second in that. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries. We now have a policy regarding the waiver of landfill disposal fees. All right, that's the end of the public hearings. We'll now move on to licenses. Catering permits, license transfers, and license renewals.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
on this first one in particular, just want to make sure it's not recommended for approval. And that is at the request of the gun range where this event is happening. They didn't want to mix alcohol with guns. So
It's the
that's
Tower Grill at Double Tap Lane for Black Rifle Range Day, June 8th from 3:30 to 7.
That's correct. So that was at their request. It's not us finding something wrong with their approval. So just wanted to highlight that, make sure that was different than the others.
All right, is there anyone who wants to discuss that item? Do we have the sheriff's department here? At all? Heather Luther, anyone else? So I guess my only question on this one is, as far as our ordinance goes, can we take the wishes of the owner of the property into consideration? If the person is following the ordinance, does it matter what the owner of the property says?
I won't speak out of line, but yes, it does matter what the owner of the property says. But
Sounds appropriate to me.
Is there any, we can take that one up separately if there's any other discussion. Or we could roll it into the full motion.
No, this one's a deny, so this one's a denial, so two separate motions.
Did you have any further comments on that item?
Nope.
And I guess we'll say it was recommended for denial by Sheriff's Department. I believe that's-
By the applicant, correct?
by the applicant, yes, and the sheriff department and us both went along with it as well.
all right.
And there's emails in the thread that explain it all.
All right, if there's any other discussion or if you'd like to make a motion.
I move to deny the catering permit for the Tower Grill as identified on the agenda and authorize the chair to sign the documents on behalf of the board.
All right, I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, catering permit denied. Moving on to the other catering permits and license transfers and license renewals. Any discussion? Not, would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the remaining licenses as listed on the agenda, including 2 catering permits, 1 license transfer, 34 license renewals, and authorize the chair to sign the documents on behalf of the board.
All right, I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We now move on to the clerk's office, which includes the canvass and certification of the 2024 state primary and consolidated election results. So we'll hand that over to our clerk, Trent Triple.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before we get into certification, I just want to recognize Tim Lamb. He is the clerk of the day, so if everything goes well today, he gets all the credit. If it goes to hell in a handbasket, you can blame me. So, Tim, you're getting eyes on some processes that most people don't normally get to see, so welcome to the club. Yes, Mr. Chairman, we do have certification of the primary that happened last week. We have documents for the board to sign. I believe there's a motion in order for that. There's the overall primary result certification as well as the results of the bond elections that occurred in the county for CUNA, Star Fire District, and West Ada as well in here. They'll need all 3 signatures once the board, if the board decides to certify them today. Then we'll get them back and distributed. I have all the certificates for the winners of the primaries that we'll distribute to the party headquarters for them to distribute to their members. So that's really it, unless all you want to add anything else.
No, yeah, that's our purpose here today, so
Okay.
it was a successful election.
Okay.
Well, I'll note for the record, we did have I guess an objection or a complaint regarding this process submitted by the member of the public. Have you had a chance to review that?
We have a chance to review that. Our intent after reviewing the legal is to forward that on the Secretary of State's office because it's mostly out of our control. So we'll do that at the appropriate time.
So in any of those kinds of situations, that's the process, correct?
It depends. This one obviously is associated with things that are directives from the Secretary of State and statute, written in statute that we follow as a county. So it's not really to our discretion whether or not we follow those or the interpretation of them.
So the Idaho Secretary of State is charged with interpreting election law. They give the county clerks directives which you're obligated to follow. And does this complaint deal with any, so this complaint deals with decisions by the Secretary of State or by your office?
I think it's probably, well, I'll just say, we probably don't want to get into details of it in this meeting, but there's some misunderstandings about the interpretation of law. So that's going to fall along the Secretary of State and not necessarily us.
Now, it's my understanding that this individual or any individual member of the public, even after this process, if there's an allegation of a law being broken or a process not being followed, they still have a remedy in district court.
That's correct. There's also the contest period as well after the certification. So the certification doesn't stamp this complaint as null and void. There's still a process that we'll go through, and they have access to that.
All right, so we do have some remedies for this person or member of the public who wants to file any complaints. Is there anything else we need to know about the certification before we move to a vote?
No, last week, there was one thing that during our review, our internal review, we identified the one batch of ballots, the 33 that we updated. We sent a press release out on Friday for that and updated the results of the totals on some of the affected races. It didn't alter any of the outcome of any of the races. And so we got those in within the canvass period, which will end today with certification, hopefully.
I think it's important to note your office caught that very quickly the next day. It was 33 votes, which again didn't change the outcome of any election, which would be a little more complicated if it did, but I don't know if we want to get into the whole process of what happened, but it was the very last batch of the day at midnight or something like that, and somebody pulled out a computer chip before it had counted, essentially, but it was caught very quickly during the review process. Any other questions or comments? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion.
I move pursuant to Idaho Code 34-1205 and 34-1410, which requires the Board of County Commissioners to canvass election returns to certify the election results as presented for the 2024 primary election, West Ada School District levy, CUNA School District levy, and Star Fire Protection District levy.
All right, I will second that. Again, noting that we did receive a complaint from the member of the public, but they still have remedies to investigate that outside of this process. So with that, I'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes. And yeah, does the clerk's office have anything else to report?
We are about to get, or we have been neck deep in budgets, but that'll be coming up in the coming weeks. So look forward to that. But outside of that, there's nothing else to report from our office. Thank you.
All right. We'll now move on to the claims journal.
I move to authorize payment of the claims on the Claims Journal dated May 24th, 2024.
I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Now we'll take up the personnel actions.
I move to approve the personnel action as listed on the agenda, that the summary sheet remain on file in the Commissioner's office.
I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We'll now move on to the treasurer's office.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner. Before you for consideration are tax cancellations. I will note that all of the parcels listed here are operating property, so these are centrally assessed by the Idaho State Tax Commission. They are not assessed by the county assessor. And the taxpayer here challenged the assessed value for tax year 2021. So based on a stipulation of settlement here, the parties agreed to a reduced value, and so pursuant to a court order, the county, so we've collected the taxes, we have the option to either refund the taxpayer or apply it as a credit. And we are prepared to issue a refund to this taxpayer based on the lower assessed value. You handled one similar to this for a different tax year a few months ago.
This is 2021.
Correct.
And again, this is not something that we did, it's something that, as a result of something that the tax commission did, correct?
Correct, just based on an understanding or agreement between this taxpayer and the state tax commission.
So we're just implementing what the tax commission just told us to do,
Right, and what the district court
correct?
found, yeah.
All right. Do you have anything else for us?
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
So I believe we need to approve these if you choose.
Right, so it's 193 of them, correct?
All right, we would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the 193 tax cancellations. Again, these are adjustments, not cancellations, for the 2021 property tax roll as listed on the agenda, and authorize the chair to sign the documents on behalf of the board.
I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. So now we'll take up a landfill fee waiver request. So I'm assuming that because we have now approved the policy, we now have a request that we can evaluate pursuant to that
Yes,
policy.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Daly, we do have our first landfill fee waiver request from Casey Smiles Inc. and 4 Low Idaho Off-Road. This is for a cleanup event that is scheduled for this Saturday, June 1st, and it will be happening in Ada County territory, I should say. Staff did inquire with BLM to see if we could obtain any support funding. We were not successful in any connection or communication with the BLM agency, so at this point in time, the application is complete. It's before you for consideration today.
That's the feds for you. Hard to get a hold of sometimes.
Yes.
Only when they want to be.
Yeah, when we ask for something. So this was I think the original group that sort of triggered the discussion
That is
about whether or
correct.
not we should have a policy.
Yes.
And they're just, sounds like a group of concerned citizens who wants to clean up an area that they like to recreate in.
It would also benefit the community as well. Those areas are high use areas for the community.
Good. All right. Well, it's a shame that it gets trashed there, but glad we have some people who would like to clean that up. Do we have any more discussion on the fee waiver request?
Well, just to thank the community for stepping up to the plate and being willing to do that, and then helping us create a process for doing it. So
Yes.
it's both of those things, I think, are laudable.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. All right. Any other comments? If not, we'll call for a motion.
I move to approve the fee waiver request for Casey's File Team and 4 LO Idaho Off-Road Oregon Trail Cleanup as listed on the agenda.
All right. I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Fees have been waived. Thank you for coming. We'll now take up development services. We've got Etchison subdivision 202-586-S for a final plat for a 3-lot subdivision and a private road.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Daly. Just for your consideration is this final plat, which is a residential subdivision with 3 lots in northwest CUNA. Staff has reviewed the applicant's submission of the final plat, finds that they've complied with all the applicable conditions of approval and that the plat complies with our county code and state law, and recommends that you authorize the chair to sign and stamp the final plat.
All right, any other comments on that? If not, would ask for a motion.
I move to approve application number 2022-02-586/S, Etchison subdivision, and authorize the chair to sign and stamp the final plat on behalf of the board.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. We'll now move to the approval of the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes as identified on the agenda and authorize the chair to sign the documents on behalf of the board.
All right, I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We now have Expo Idaho, interim events, and 2024 Western Idaho Fair commercial exhibitor contracts and concessionaire agreements. Do you have any comment on those?
Not very often I get to take up a whole page, but yeah. Everything's going well. This is just kind of standard procedure getting ready for the fair.
And we thank you for doing that, both getting ready for the fair as well as keeping the operation going over there.
Thank you kindly, Commissioner.
All right, any questions, or we take a motion?
I move to approve the 3 interim event agreements, 22 commercial exhibitor agreements, and 19 concessionaire agreements as listed on the agenda, and authorize the chair to sign the documents on behalf of the board.
All right, I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Now move on to Parks and Waterways, Barber Park Education and Event Center agreements. We have one wedding.
I move to approve the 1 Barber Park Education and Event Center agreement as listed on the agenda, and authorize the chair to sign the documents on behalf of the board.
All right, I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We now have 7 agreements. Let's see if there's any comment on any of them. We are looking at now we're leasing a Polar freezer, walk-in cooler for juvenile services. Does anybody want to speak to that one?
We're replacing the walk-in cooler, so it'll take about a week for a demo and a week to install. So we just need to get a cooler for them. It's on the ground, so they can walk in and out of it. And it's very reasonably priced compared to the other ones that we had, so, yeah. We like doing it.
And this is so we're leasing instead of buying one, or is this a temporary one?
It's just a temporary one because we're replacing the old existing cooler with a new one that's in the building. So this one will sit outside.
All right. Is there any other questions on any other contracts here?
Planning for employee picnic, which is good.
Yeah, looks like we're getting a bouncy house, so that'll be fun.
That's for all the employees.
Yeah. And then I guess this is our regular Lucky Peak contract for, it's regarding the docks, I believe, at Lucky Peak, which a lot of people don't know that we have, I guess those are our responsibility at Lucky Peak. And also we're doing one with Terry Riley Health Services for space at the Ada County Victim Services Center, which I can't remember if they've been there already or if this is a new addition to the Victim Services Center, but we're glad to have them there as we continue to build on the new center we have. Any other comments or questions on any of the items? If not,
No, just a comment on the Lucky Peak situation. That's an example of where we actually do work together well with the federal government. the Corps of Engineers, State Department, the Parks Department, and most people don't realize Ada County has anything to do up there, but we do have quite a bit to do up there, so.
It's a unique place with multiple jurisdictions all having a little piece of the property there, working together. All right, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve the 7 agreements as listed on the agenda and authorize the chair to sign the documents on behalf of the board.
All right, I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Now the indigent services, weekly indigent items.
I move to accept the recommendations of the indigent service staff as listed on the summary of cases dated May 28th, 2024, and authorize the chair to sign the documents on behalf of the board.
I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now we have one miscellaneous item, Compass non-binding letter of intent to commit funding and participate in the acquisition of digital orthophotography and associated data. Is there anyone here who can speak to that one? You have any questions or any comments? I think this is for taking pictures of the overall Compass area, that's my understanding. A lot of data involved in mapping out the land for Compass projects. If there's no comments, would entertain a motion.
That doesn't require a motion, does it? Okay, I move to approve the Compass non-binding letter of intent as identified on the agenda, and I authorize the chair to sign the documents on behalf of the board.
I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. And if there's nothing else, looks like the meeting's adjourned. We're in recess. Thanks, everybody. Right, it's Tuesday, May 28th, 2024. The time is 10:32 a.m. We're here for our weekly Emergency Management Services District meeting. And call it to order. And just identify yourself for the record.
John Lake Paramedics.
Turn Triple County Clerk.
IT guy, myself and Commissioner Daly are present. And are there any changes to the agenda?
No, there are not.
So we'll move to the Claims Journal. We'll entertain a motion.
I move to authorize payment of the claims as listed on the Claims Journal dated May 24th, 2024 regarding EMS expenditures.
I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Now have the personnel actions, 4-step increases, EMS pay plan.
I move to approve the personnel actions as listed on the agenda and that the summary sheet remain on file in the Commissioner's office.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We'll now take up the approval of minutes.
I move to approve the minutes as identified on the agenda and authorize the chair to sign the documents on behalf of the board.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Now EMS update.
Good morning.
Morning.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Daly, we, in the past year, we've really slowed down on the number of vacancies that we've had in our department, but did end up with a few. And last week, we made 4 conditional offers to our reserves. We have a reserve program made up of volunteers that come and spend their time, sometimes months, could be up to years, in that reserve program as a pool of folks we can hire from, and we made the 4 conditional offers to them. My understanding is that those offers were received with giddy excitement. We have a number of people in that group that are chomping. That's right. It really is. I am heartened to hear those things when people are there's that level of excitement to come and work for us. I was pleased to hear about it. And the only other thing I have for you is that last week was EMS week nationwide, and we celebrated with a number of events. 3 lunches that we put on for our folks for each of the 3 shifts, and then events with St. Al's and St. Luke's. They like to do something for us every year. And it seems to be every year I end up reading the Commissioner's Proclamation that is full of whereases, and it ends up being a highlight for me. I end up saying whereas for the rest of the day. To begin and end everything. Whereas. That's all I have for you.
All right.
And everybody enjoyed those. Those are good for the employees too.
Yeah, they are. Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed it. Campaign going on. I was a little distracted.
We had a few other things going on.
We understand. We soldiered on.
Good. Well, glad to hear new people are coming on board. I mean, how are the wages looking, the overall picture of the competitive world of emergency services?
So it's a mix. It's always a mix of things. In order to get someone to a yearly wage, they have to be working a different schedule, a schedule that is different than we used to, which was 2 set days, and now they're on a rotating schedule. So on a yearly basis, our folks are working more hours, and so that brings a yearly pay very much in line with at least regional pay. As I sit in front of you right now, how it compares nationally, I couldn't say where we are exactly. But from a standpoint of pay, we're doing well annually, and just asking our folks to work a lot more. We understand that has a limited sustainability.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, then we'll be adjourned.
All right.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Yep.